Good morning. My name is Donald Ware, and Bob Brown has asked me to introduce our next speaker, Carla Rueckert. It's an interesting way I became aware of her. I'd given a lecture in the mid-'80s on UFOs at a Universal Unitarian church, and kind of magically that afternoon, a book of the Law of One showed up on my front porch. And from the scientific perspective that I was investigating and researching UFOs at that time, to this day, I think it's probably the best telepathically acquired information for the scientific mind. Carla Rueckert got a degree in English literature and a master's degree in library science. She began channeling Ra, the contact, from 1981 to 1984. She continues channeling efforts with the non-trance Sunday meditation meetings, living now in Louisville, Kentucky with Jim McCarty. And she recently has written a book called The Wanderer's Handbook that I highly recommend. It's profoundly related to the UFO subject. Let's give a hand to Carla Rueckert, please.
I honor you. I'm so glad to be here. As Don Ware said, I'll probably subside to this chair soon, but I'll start up here. I have so looked forward to being able to talk to you all. Jim, I forgot my clock. Would you mind bringing that up here? I tend to overtalk, and I don't want to leave certain things out, so I need to get a timer up here and make sure I don't run out of time. As Donald Ware said, he had run into the Law of One because it ran into him. And a lot of people report that about the material that we acquired from those of Ra. It might fall on their heads from a bookstore shelf. It might show up at a checkout counter, and the bookstore not even know how much to charge for it because it wasn't in their inventory. So there's a powerful purity to that information that certainly has helped me a lot throughout the years. But these first 4 books of the Law of One and the 5th one that we offered about 15 years after the first 4 have, as Don said, a scientific leaning towards them. And there are a lot of people for a lot of years that have written me going, and asking me questions. And the questions have been profound, and they have been widespread, and they have started coming into a repeating pattern through the years, so that after a while I began seeing that there was a certain class of people that were fascinated with this work, that resonated to it, and that kind of needed help with some of the concepts of it. And when I decided that I wanted to do this book, my impulse was to get all of these questions together and write a book that responded to the questions that were repeating over and over in my email and other correspondence, simply so that when people wrote me email, they'd be on the same page with me and we could go from there, instead of my having to write the same thing over and over again. So that was the very beginning of this book, was just my desire to help, and I think that's been my impulse from the very beginning of my life. I just want to help. I love everybody. I love everything. I love this creation. And the passion and the joy in my life is to share it with everyone I meet. I think that everyone in this audience is ready to drop flesh and become an angel. I think that we're all in our potential last incarnation on this earth and ready to move on. And I would love to inspire you, awaken you, fill you with the joy that I feel, and engage you in a collaboration with me and with others who are here and have only one desire, and that is to bring Earth and its people from the old heaven and the old earth to a new heaven and a new earth. I think that's basically the metaphysical angle that the UFOs have. I don't speak to the physical side of the UFO story. Many others do that extremely well. It's a complex and mazed subject, shall we say, and there is a tremendous amount of sophistication involved in simply penetrating the outer levels of it. And I bow and honor all those people that have worked so hard to try to figure out what's going on this earth. My own interest is profoundly non-political, not of this earth. My kingdom is not of this world. And I'm much more interested in building a road from third density to fourth density. Looking at my time. Oh, good, I'm already late. Okay, moving along to how I wrote the handbook. I started out, as I said, with my database of fascinating people that write into me. Who are these people? Some of these people think that they came from other planets, which is something that they share with me. I have memories of being from elsewhere. Call me crazy, that's okay. I don't think so. And I think that I am among a large company of Confederates. I think I came with a very large spiritual family. I think that there are many spiritual families that came here that are allied together to help Earth at this time to shed light into the planetary vibration and put that blacktop on the road to fourth density. I think it's entirely possible, and I think we're very close to critical mass. I had a database after 6 years on the internet of about 400 people, a little bit over that. And so I read through all of the letters that I had gotten, and I wrote down every question. And when I analyzed the questions, there were about 120 categories that I would put them in. So my first job was to form an outline with these categories so that if a person wanted to read my treasury of ideas from start to finish, there would be some logical flow to it. At that point, which was 4 years down the road in this 6-year labor of love, I asked my husband to help me, and he put a solid year into getting a database from our 30 years of archive. I had been channeling. I started listening to channeling in '62, but I didn't start channeling until '74. And so from about 1975 on, we were recording all of my channeling. And so we had a very solid 25-year period of channeling in which I channeled at least once a week, sometimes every day. So there's just a huge amount of material, millions and millions of words. The labor of a lifetime for me. And Jim went through with all of these subjects and just did keyword searches on each subject to find quotations from the channeling archive that would support information on this subject, that would be about the subjects. So I started out with 2 databases, these wonderful people that have written into me And just like you all in the audience, these people know just as much as I do and have spent many, many years studying this and are very intelligent people that create quite gems of thought, that some of which I do put in the book. And then there are these voices, and even though it's my own channeling, pardon me for seeming to be egoistic, but I have dearly appreciated these voices in my life, and they've meant a lot to me, and it's just a wonderful thing to be able to share, not just those of Ra and what they had to say, but also other members of the Confederation of Planets in the Service of the Infinite Creator, which is what they call themselves. So I took these questions and I wrote essays, short essays, about 120 of them. My table of contents shows each of these, and so you can use the book by picking it up and looking up what your problem is, just as though you were a Volkswagen owner and you wanted to see how to change the spark plugs. You know, sometimes in your spiritual life you need to know something like that. And you know, it's an owner's manual. You pick it up, you look at it, you look at that few pages of material all by itself, not having to read the whole book, but just focusing on what your need of the moment is. It was intended to be used like that. It was intended to be a lifetime companion. It works also if you read it straight through, and some people tell me that's all they can do. They can't put it down. But I say that's a lot of stamina because it's a long book as it stands now. And another way that people really use it a lot, so I hear, is, do you know the I Ching, where you just see what the fortune has for you today? Well, you can take the book and just open it at random and see if you can get some inspiration that way. And in moments of stress, that has helped me, actually. Okay, doing great. I'm back on time. Okay, the purpose of the book is to open your heart. Lord, make us servants of your peace. Where there is hate, may we so love. Where there is hurt, may we forgive. Where there is strife, may we make one. I would love to open your heart, to give you a direct experience of what it is to be free, unhindered, and come at last into the sacred space of your own self. What does the Law of One say? What does Ra say? What does the Confederation in general say? It's such a short, simple message. All is one. Look into the mirror, see the Creator. Look into the eyes of other self, see the Creator. Look into the creation of the Father, see the Creator. You see, everything is ready to tell us its story. As Carolyn Casey said recently, and I just loved it, she said, "I'm a peanut. I make good sandwiches." Everything is ready to tell us its story. All of nature sings. We ourselves sing. We are an energy field that has a wonderful vibration that is only our own. No one in the entire creation of the Father has our distortions, our color, our brilliance, our perfection, and our beauty. Even though we are all one, even though we are all twinkles in the eye of God, shall we say, yet we have suffered and expressed joy and loved and been loved and suffered again. And in just these small steps that may seem to us to be indications of failure, we create a tapestry of energy that is a signature that is our name in the metaphysical world. And each one of us is absolutely vital and absolutely perfect, a gem in our own right, shining like the sun, and very much a sun-like being. I would love to bring you into that feeling of the truth of your own power and the magic of your life. I would like you to realize and feel, really feel, that we are one, that we have a job to do together. We're a team. We all came here, or were born here, for one simple purpose. We are at a time, at the end of a very long age of learning, I think. This is all my opinion, where we have about 10 years left to affect change within this world. There's been a lot of fear-based information about the end of the world, Armageddon, being one of the elect that will ascend, or being one of the rest that will not, and will all perish and become, as the dinosaurs, the oil pits for the next civilization of Earth. I don't think so. I believe that we have reached a place where we are going to be able to help Earth move from third to fourth density without a global cataclysm. We didn't have the one that was absolutely scheduled in 1998 that Casey predicted, because of the very fervent efforts of a few who realized that what we wanted to do at this stage, whatever we called it, was to establish a state of mind and to establish communication with each other and connection with each other, so that we could together build a net of love around this planet. Some have called it the Christ grid. Some have called it cosmic consciousness. Whatever the way of calling it, the idea is that the old needs to pass away and will pass away, and the new needs to come. And what the new is unconditional love. That vibration, more and more, is what we are living in now, and it is polarizing both the good and the negative within our society. So we see fear as well as love becoming very pointed. We have the opportunity to take action in this situation. But it is an action of a very different kind. Then shall your light break forth as does the morning, your health shall spring, and friends you make shall bring God's glory bright. Your way through life adorning, and love shall be the prize. Arise, arise, arise and make a paradise. Arise, arise, arise and make a paradise. A paradise is already here. I had a wonderful letter from a friend, Bruce Perret, who was sitting in Wyoming in his wilderness and opened his eyes to see the everlasting waves of the prairie in Wyoming. And lo and behold, it was no longer gray and brown and sage and those colors of dust that afflict the land in a dry season. It was green. And instead of clouds and thick mist, which was the weather at that day, it was a bright blue sky. And the sun was shining brightly. And he blinked, it didn't go away. It lasted for about 15 minutes, probably because of the state of mind he was in from meditation. This world is interpenetrating ours and is coming closer and closer. This is what the law of one information suggests. Is very specifically, in 1981, Don Elkins, a scientist and physicist and mechanical engineering professor, asked those of Ra when the end of the age was. And they said, well, the inconveniences that mark the end of the age have already begun, and they shall last for about 30 years. And Don said, well, now, then will that mean that after that the Earth will be a fourth density planet? And those of Ra said that is correct. Well, that would mean 2011. So, according to those of Ra, we are in the last 10 years of this old age. Okay. Taming the wolf. Book 3 of the Law of One has got a lot of material about taming the wolf. Now, to me, that's code, because I love what Dion Fortune said about psychic greeting, so-called psychic attack. To me, after having experienced psychic greeting very intensively, which is recounted in that book, I have come to the conclusion that what we think of as forces out there that are going to attack us, we can tell that story a different way and help ourselves to understand the nature of peace. Because the wolf that attacks from the outside certainly seems like an entity separate from us. And yet, it is not true. And metaphysically, the truth of the situation is that until we invite those wolves that bite, those vampires that are threatening to feed on us, those wolf men that come out in the full of the moon, until we are able to look at them in all their dirt, warts and all, and accept them and take them into our hearts and know that they too are our shadow selves, we don't have a hope in the world of taming our dark side. And taming our dark side is the very first thing we need to do in order to fall in love with ourselves and become magical people. The one known as Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, all your soul, all your strength, all your mind, and your neighbor as yourself. This replaces all of the old commandments. This is the whole of the law. There's a little catch in there. Love your neighbor as you love yourself. Do you love yourself? So many of us, myself included, I'm still working on it, have been carefully trained not to devalue ourselves, to find ourselves unworthy, to endlessly focus on what is wrong with this picture. There's always something wrong with the picture of us. When we look in the mirror, how many of us are truly satisfied? Don't answer that. Those of you who are. Now the green blade rises from the very ground. We that in dark earth many days has lain, love lives again, that with the dead has been. Love is come again, like wheat that springeth green. When our hearts are wintry, grieving or in pain, thy touch can bring us back to life again. Fields of our hearts that dead and bare have been, love is come again, like leaves that springeth green. When we take our dark side and say, okay, let me love you, let me seduce you with my charm, let me talk to you about the desires of my heart, we begin to tame that wild and woolly dark side. We begin to entrance the powers of the murderer, the adulterer, the thief, the glutton, the lazy bones. We begin to fascinate those dark powers that feed into the will. These dark powers are our strength. They're our grit. Let's in some way say they're our fertilizer. They give us a richness of energy that we would not have if we were all sweetness and light. We need to know about this dark side, I think. The Law of One has troubled some people. Our material in general has troubled some people who honestly do not believe that polarity is a matter of accepting the darkness as part of the light. They believe in fighting the darkness and defending against the darkness, and there is a great mythology about the children of light and the children of darkness. Nor do I deny the truth of that assertion. There is indeed a war in heaven and earth, and it is the children of light against the children of darkness. The thing of it is, it's a short-sighted war. In the sweep of spiritual development, all becomes one again, and the negative and the positive path unify. And what third density is about choice, according to those of Ra. But we're at the end of third density. We have made our choice. Everybody in this audience, and I think most people in general, have come down very decisively as to what path they want to follow. Service to self or service to others. Service to self being the positive path, radiant like the sun, not controlling, releasing all judgment, all of that expansive energy of unconditional love. This is what appeals to almost everyone on this planet. Most of the people who came to this planet were working from an attitude of sharpening the choice for good in such a way that it was more balanced, more excellent. Because this choice, this very decisive choice here, is the basis on which we stand to do work for several densities. So, especially those who come here from elsewhere, very intently focused, if they're awakened, on that realization of themselves as ethical beings and the desire to express and use this incarnational experience as a canvas on which to paint the picture of a loving and lovely life. The next concept I would like to bring to you is the thought that we are a team. What precisely does this team do? The first thing that we do is we stop talking and we embrace the silence. Humbly I adore thee, verity unseen, who thy glory hidest neath these shadows mean. Lo, to thee surrendered, my whole heart is bowed, tranced as it beholds thee, veiled within the cloud. Within you, within me, within all of us, the clouds part. And the Creator waits patiently in a room closer to us than our hearts, nearer to us than breathing. That consciousness that is the Creator is the actual truth of your being and mine. The I of myself and the I of you. So the first thing that we need to do to come together is to realize that we are here for a purpose far beyond ourselves. And one great key to coming into a more secure and sane and practical realization of our position here, our situation, and what we're here for, is found within silence. It helps a lot if you have someone to sit in silence with, I have found. But so many people don't. And it's not necessary. But I do encourage you to look for meditation buddies if you're having trouble with your practice. But it doesn't matter to me, I don't think it matters to the Creator at all, how you conduct your time in silence. You can take a walk in nature, you can sit in a chair, you can practice whatever you find helpful to help you get into a meditative state. But the idea is to stop talking. The idea is to listen to the silence. It's a very powerful thing. The handbook contains a lot of different aspects. I start out with a discussion, a fairly lengthy discussion of wanderers, those who come from elsewhere. And I talk about Earth natives who have become wanderers. It is my feeling, as I said, that I no longer even distinguish between those who come from elsewhere and those whose patterns are all of this earth. Because of the situation here, because we're in the last 10 years of a 75,000 year cycle, everybody here is pretty much an ascended master. You may be asleep, you may be snoozing, you may be wide awake and wanting to know more about your mission. But potentially, you are a powerful and magical being who has done a tremendous amount of work already. Or you wouldn't have gotten a place in line, because as I understand it, there's a real crowd trying to get into incarnation here because it's such a fascinating time. I mean, in the first place, this is not an untroubled planet. This apparently, according to the messages, is a planet where people that have flunked grade 3 from quite a few other places have been sent to repeat. And we got a lot of people here that are just really hard-headed and really wanted to stay in third density and practice the ways of fear and look at this choice and maybe stay asleep for a very long time. And so we don't have an easy road of it. And none of us is a simple person. We all probably have a troubled past and could be described in one way or another as juvenile delinquents. So Don Elkins, the third member of our meditation group, the L&L Research, who is no longer with us. He died in '84, but Jim and I always feel him on our shoulders. And he's the angel that is among us still, as far as we're concerned. I always said that Earth was an insane asylum. He was just lucky to get a private room. So there is a certain amount of confusion and chaos out there, and I talk about that. I talk about a lot of New Age issues in the book because people ask about those. People ask about cosmology. They ask about the densities. They ask about the energy system of the body, the chakras. I go into that. I work especially hard on the densities and the chakras because that is two subjects that you read in the Law of One material, and the material is so based on physics and alternative physics at that, that you read it and you go, I don't think I get this yet. You know? And truly, after 15 years of studying it, as a person that was awash in the liberal arts and not at all in science, I had to go and ask for help and make sure that I was able to explain this cosmological stuff in ways that, at least if you read my sentences, you would be able to understand as well as I understand. So for people that have had their struggles trying to figure out what they were talking about with densities and with energy body terminology, I go into that in the book. I talk about reincarnation. Earth is a school. Earth is a spiritual refinery. Earth is a game board. Talk about the use of the light touch. Healing. Talk a lot about metaphysical work in there, meditation, the silence that I was talking about. Many people ask me and say, you know, I really respond to this information, and I can even conceive of myself as a spiritual being with a contract to fulfill. But, you know, I drink, I smoke, I play cards, I am a rootin' tootin' person of earth. How in the world do I become a spiritual person? I tell you what, you already are. It's a matter of allowing that realization to rise within you. It's as if silence was a key. And I don't mean, you know, a key concept. I'm talking about a key, a physical key, because the doors of our hearts are actually rather cleverly shut against any rude entry. There is a guard there. And we don't get into our open heart until we're ready. The key to that door is silence and desire. And when we use that key, we're in a holy of holies that is profoundly within ourselves. The infinite creator is waiting for us there patiently. Already there, already the center of your and my being. According to the material from those of Ra, there isn't anything else. There is the one original thought. And that one original thought, pure, undistorted, and perfect, is the very center of our heart and the very connection to the Creator, to the Spirit within, to the wisdom within, to what we should do next. We can rest easy if we can get into that heart and relax and rest and allow things to move through. You see, that's the idea of the open heart. That's what we're actually doing here. We're all crystal. I'd have to get a scientist up here to describe precisely the nature of the body, but I believe it is correct to say that the organs are energy fields and so forth, and there's a system of energy fields within the body, and then the body itself is an energy field, mostly water, which is a very magical and crystalline substance. So we have a sort of energy field, a temple of sacred shapes and magnetic forces that is vibrating as does a crystal, that is able, as does a crystal, to receive information, to send information, and to transduce it. According to the model given in the Law of One and the Confederation material in general, infinite supplies of energy come into our body and flow out of our body. Of course, If our energy body is blocked, or the centers are in some way narrowed or shut down, the energy is not going to move through. And so this is what we do usually, is especially in the lower three rays, the sexual energy ray of red ray, the personal relationship ray of the gut ray, orange ray, and the solar plexus ray of earth relationships such as marriage, work, football teams, all of the groups, and that inspire our loyalties on earth. These three lower energy centers are very likely to be somewhat blocked over and over again as we deal with the people around us, as we deal with ourselves and our desires, and as we deal with our responsibilities in the world. It's important to keep going through these lower energies and systematically gazing at, sitting with, accepting, forgiving, and releasing the blockages in them, because of the fact that the next energy center is the green ray, the heart ray, and you can't do any work in consciousness, you can't do any work for the planet, you can't start fulfilling your contract until you get into the heart. So this key of silence is helpful also in bringing you to a place beyond the various, well, he said, she said, I'm right, he's wrong, all of these dynamics of the daily moment in the daily life, to bring you back into a more centered and a more cosmic, shall we say, point of view, where you've remembered who you are again. You've remembered that you're a child of the Creator. You've remembered that you have no judgment and that you love and wish to be loved and accepted as a whole human being. I talk about forgiveness a lot in the book because a lot of the questions that people write into me about are about forgiveness, and forgiveness is a very difficult thing to come by. I think the stubbornest of all is the ability to forgive the self. It's amazing, though, how healing it is when you can finally fall in love with yourself and realize that you're just a marvelous person and you're great company. And the Creator cast you forth as a twinkle in His eye with one basic job, and that was to learn, to experience, and to express things within your nature that have never been found before, so that the Creator can know about Himself. Because as we learn about ourselves, the Creator is adding to its knowledge of itself. Come down, O love divine, seek thou this soul of mine, and visit it with thine own utter glowing. O comfort to draw near, within my heart appear, and kindle it with thine own utter glowing. We have help. We don't have to sit in our hearts and change the world by dint of will. In fact, the actual work that we came here to do is effortless. It's being. It's essence. It's very difficult. It's almost impossible in the modern world simply to be. You go to a party, nobody says, "What do you be?" They say, "What do you do?" And you know, woe betide the woman who's only a housewife and a mother of four, because she can't say, What do you do? Well, it says, I work very hard. But you know, it's not very chic to be that. And actually most of us don't get the chance to to stay home and make a home and raise happy children. Most of us are working to support the payments for the home and the lifestyle that we've decided is necessary. It's a very busy world. It's a very away from center world. And it's a world in which I myself am a part, as I work for Jim's lawn service, and my husband sets out to prepare the gardens and the lawns of our immediate environment and to establish our ability to feed ourselves. This is something that we share with everybody. Everybody has to be responsible and make a living and see to the endless chores and duties of the world. That is as it should be. I have no argument against that. But the thing of it is, how can you bring a spiritual focus into a life that is so full of chores and busy work? And I'm here to tell you it's possible. If you would give 10 minutes a day to the energy of transformation within yourself, that's enough, because silence is a powerful thing. If you can meditate for 5 minutes straight, and by that I simply mean don't talk and don't process the thinking that you do, but just sit with it and simply listen to the silence. And then if you spend another 5 or 10 minutes at the end of the day thinking about what you've said, thought, and done, with an eye to seeing what emotions you're running, what harvest the day has brought to you, and what harvest you have given to the world in terms of your energy, your responses to people and to things. Not to judge, but just to get to know yourself. 10 minutes every day. No exceptions. Look back in 2 months and see what changes have taken place in your life. Look back after 6 months and marvel. Because once you open yourself to your own self, to the larger self within you, you are on a journey which is very rapid and very transformational. I almost urge people not to do too much at the beginning of a spiritual practice, because it is such powerful stuff, and I don't like the idea of people changing so rapidly that they can't keep up with themselves, and they experience it as difficult. It is somewhat difficult to become a responsible spiritual being. You do have to change, and change is always uncomfortable. But actually, we all invite change in terms of wanting to be more mature, wanting to be more helpful, and above all, I think, wanting to fulfill the contract for which we came. I've found that is one thing that I hear over and over and over again from the people that have read our stuff and write me, is, what is my mission? What is it that I'm supposed to do? I have a burning desire to do it. I feel I've made an agreement, I've made a promise, and I want to keep it. But what is it? Go forth for God, go to the world in peace. Be of good courage, armed with heavenly grace. In God's good spirit daily to increase, till in His kingdom we behold His face. I'm a Christian, could you guess? I don't want you to become Christian if you're not. But what I want you to do is feel the unconditional love that this vibration of Christ offers. I don't have any desire to make you believe in Jesus. I don't care if Jesus ever actually got up on a cross, died, and ascended to heaven. What I care about, and I think what is very valid, was the energy that put that man up on the cross, willing to give his life so that we wouldn't suffer. Yearning so much to love the world. Yearning so much to call the world to love, that he was perfectly willing to lose his life. I don't care whether he succeeded or not. Our logo is Don Quixote. Don Quixote tilted at windmills. They were all illusions. What I care about in Don Quixote is the passion that he had for the good, for honor, for truth, for beauty. What I care about is the passion that Jesus had for this beauty in each one of us. He saw all of us as citizens of eternity. And that's the truth of us. We are infinite, magical, powerful, amazing beings. We have connections to each other, to the planet, and to that beyond ourselves which we came to serve, the light. And the way we do that is to open the heart and let that crystal radio nature work, so that as we're getting the unconditional love of the infinite creator, as the light is flowing into us, we bless it. We consciously encourage it. And we dedicate it, not only to our own well-being, although we always need to do that first, but also to the lightening of planet Earth and the healing of the world. There is a tremendous need at this time for healing in this world. What the world needs now is love, sweet love. And it's so true. The reason that I sing from time to time is that it opens my heart, and I hope that, as music often does, it brings emotion to the surface for you too. There is a tenderness, a vulnerability, a nakedness to singing, especially singing without any instrument. And my hope is that after the shock fades of this woman sitting up on stage and singing, that you're able to see that what I'm trying to do is give you a certain kind of experience, an experience of my own very odd and quirky nature, of the way I live, the way I process spirit, the way I myself have been working to heal myself, to become a whole person, to become completely fearless, so that there's nothing that stops the light from flowing through me, so that what you actually see is not me, but the beauty and the love and the light that is flowing through me and through all of us all the time. My hope is that this might enliven and engage your interest in becoming that kind of a creature yourself. Not necessarily one who sings, not necessarily one who is a Christian, but one who finds the ways that you have of bringing emotion through and finding the purer strains of it. Because I think we come to this experience of catalyst and suffering and gaining experience from it, each in our own way, and we each have our ways of comforting ourselves, of finding the truth within ourselves, of getting beyond the linear thoughts so that we're more experiencing our nature as it truly is, that magical nature that is not predictable, that is entirely spontaneous, and that is in the present moment fully. I think our model of time keeps us from realizing that at all times the present moment is infinitely wide and deep and contains all of history. Time is an illusion. See, how am I doing on time? 12:29. Okay, I only have just a little bit of time. I speak until 1, is that right? Okay. So, I'm assuming that there are going to be a bunch of questions, so I'll talk about 10 minutes more, and then I'll stop and throw the lights up and engage you personally. This is a time of harvest, and I'd like to end our time together by bending your minds a little bit about the concept of peace. God is working His purpose out as year succeeds to year. God is working His purpose out, and the time is drawing near. Nearer, nearer draws the time that shall surely be, when the earth shall be filled with the glory of God, as the waters cover the sea. I have waited for this time for a long time. This is an exciting time to be alive. The planet is transforming as we speak. I'm seeing the inconveniences all over the planet. I'm very heartened that we haven't had a planetary catastrophe. I think perhaps we may escape that entirely, but it's not a done thing. We're close to critical mass on creating the web of love for planet Earth, the Christ grid, but we're not there yet. We're very close to a 100th monkey effect of awakening. So many people are awakening. I've gotten such a rise in people writing into our site that I can no longer answer all the letters. About a year ago, that stopped being possible, and now people as much a part of L&L as I are helping me to answer those letters. But I want you to know, anybody that writes L&L will receive a letter from a person. It's never going to be a boilerplate text letter that I wrote in 1997 to somebody in Boise about being a wanderer. It's going to apply to you. It's going to be from a human being that cares. And this is the point. This is the 10 years in which we need to make connections. We need to find out how to collaborate, and we need to move forward as a people. This is the last of the old, and at the beginning of the new, which is also right now, all work is done by groups. All progression will be done by groups in the next density to come. We need to learn to play together well. Those who play well together are the foundation, are the blacktop creators of the road from 3rd to 4th density. We really need to focus on that, learning how to work together. I am very engaged in what can we do together. So about 10 days before 9/11 occurred, right at the end of August, I received a letter from a member of the elder race who happens to be incarnate, is very, very connected in with the earth, and said that Earth was very angry that for the first time in his life he had not been able to talk to Mother Earth, that Gaia would not speak with him, that she was angry with all of humankind, and said there is so much negative energy here now. We are just not going to try to cooperate with humans anymore. And this is about the 3rd time I've heard of a crisis like this. The first time I ever heard of it from Earth, and it engaged and alarmed me to the extent that Jim and I started doing Gaia meditations every night at 9 o'clock. We invite you to join them. We are doing them every day still. Not necessarily exactly at 9, because you know how life goes, but every night, every morning, we sit down and we pray for peace, and we pray for the safe birthing of our planet, and the attempt to become Confederates once again, instead of those who operate on planet Earth as her masters. We need again to become part of the system of harmonies that is in the creation of the Father, so that we can help this dear planet through this labor process that she is in. There's stress in the tectonic plates. There's heat underneath the surface of the earth because of all of our warring and our angry thoughts. We have not learned peace. We have not learned peace within our hearts. We have not learned peace as a people. We have not learned peace among the families of mankind. And it's time to do that. It's very much time to do that. Oh, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. Oh, pray for the peace of Jerusalem. I do. I pray so much. It's an old family squabble there in Jerusalem. Christians, Muslims, Jews, all of whom have great respect for Jesus, all of whom have great love for Mary, all of whom have listened to the teachings of Jesus and given lip service to them for millennia, all of whom are ignoring those very simple teachings and squabbling and calling down vengeance. I don't know the answer. I'm as patriotic as anybody else. I realize that you can't simply allow someone to blow up your buildings and kill your people and not respond in some wise. But oh, how I wish that the way we had responded was to call together the nations of the world and say, look, I was going to put like $27 billion into this next war on terrorism, but I was thinking maybe if we just tried to like redecorate and figure out how to housekeep here so that everybody had a little something to eat, everybody had a roof over their heads. Let's see if we could solve the problems that affect us globally with this money. I wonder how far we would have gotten and how well we would have spent that money. Thanks. And I invite you to join me because this is the time. I'm going to be investigating ways to become more active in spreading this message. And I really do feel that there's a huge group of people that would like to be engaged in this collaboration. The first way to do it is by dedicating yourselves to opening yourselves. The second way to do it is come online, find your spiritual family, whatever it is. If you vibrate to me, if you're resonating to what I'm saying, take a look at the contents of our book. I really would love for you to come by the table and really take a look at my book. I think that I wouldn't have written it. I wouldn't have spent 6 years and all my love on it if I didn't feel very, very deeply and passionately that it was a book that needs to be looked at by everybody because we are all people of the law of one, and it's time for us to come together and to act together. And pray for the peace within us most of all. Okay, let's turn up the lights and take some questions.
Making sure it's on. Thank you, Sister Wanderer. I'm also a wanderer myself. I've known that I've had a mission ever since I was a child, and I've begun to realize what it is and how to go about it. And my question is this is what plagues me. How do you get people to motivate? There's so many people in this audience are going to be sitting here and listening and saying, oh, this is beautiful, but then go home and continue doing whatever it is that they do and not do anything. And I so much want to do something, and I'm not in the financial power to do so. I haven't been able to get other people to hear me and join me and join you and join others, Barbara Hubbard. There's a lot of groups out there that are starting things, and you know, I want to start my own group as well, or get the groups that exist to come together and to work as one. And it's so hard to seem to get this herd of cattle to move, as my friend likes to say.
Well, see, we're not doing that. We're just working with ourselves.
I think we should work with ourselves
as
first.
as we begin as we begin to be transparent to the energy of the Creator, I think that we begin to speak to people by the way we are. Ours is a ministry of essence. We don't have to worry about awakening everybody. We don't have to worry about awakening anybody, really. I mean, everybody's got their alarm clock set, and the way I look at it is, I operate as a snooze alarm at this point. It's like I can get everybody awake enough to hear what I have to say, and when I say, go back to sleep if you want to. If it's not your time, that's cool with me. Mm-hmm. You know, I don't want to roust anybody, but hey, if you're ready, anything I can do, please let me know. And you know, there are resources in the book that I think that you just need to trust that everything is well planned, and that you will inspire people as you love them. Just love them. Don't worry about the doing. Worry about your being. And as you are in your heart, you'll be surprised. It's just going to start coming back on you and magnifying.
It already has to some extent, but I feel like there's so little time.
There is so little time. It's about 10 years.
I feel so rushed, you know, and that things aren't quite happening for me fast enough.
Well, it's time, but there's not a rush. There's not a rush. Everything is in order.
I think the war against terrorism has enjoyed tremendous support among the American people, maybe 90% approval in some polls, that kind of level of support, to the point where both of our major parties don't even see it as possible to object, because that would be political suicide. So how does that kind of orientation mesh with the idea that we're close to going into fourth density?
Well, you know, a wonderful channeling from George Hunt Williamson, channeling Brother Philip, said, in the last days, the dragon will thrash his tail. And do not be deceived, because it's just the dragon thrashing his tail. This is an illusion. In this illusion, we may be at war until the very last. There will be wars and rumors of wars, but this is not yet the end. I think that what we need to do at this time is be extremely steadfast and unswayed by what appears to be happening on the world scene. We are not our politics, we are not the policies of the nations of the world, we are not our economies, we are not any of the things in the creation of man. There is a profound difference between living in the world and accepting the truth of the world. We certainly live in the world, but we're not of the world, and none of us has to be of the world. We can become ethical beings that give to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, allow the wars to occur that need to occur as far as our leader says we do. And I'm there. You know, okay, we need to be at war. I will lend my blessing to that effort and hope not to kill any more people than necessary. But beyond that, I would like simply to be. And I think it's at the level of being that we will make the difference, where we realize that, yes, these things are occurring, but they are part of the game board. And beyond that game is that which can be created by faith alone. Faith in what? Faith doesn't have a content. It's not like dogma. Faith is faith in the plan. Faith in the fact that no matter what it looks like, angels are gathering. Positivity is thickening. And there is going to be a time within the next 10 years when all that we can do has been done. And those who are going to repeat this 75,000 years will have made that decision, and those who can be harvested will be harvested. What we have to focus on now is not third density in terms of activism to work on bringing love to humanity. What we have to focus on is creating the road to fourth density, creating that Christ grid, that unconditional love feeling. So I think, the way I deal with it is simply to retreat from it and release it from my judgment and allow it to wag on as the world does wag.
Thank you.
You pretty much just answered the question that I have, but I understand the importance of being what we want to be, what we want the world to be. But as I watch what's happening in the world, I have a really hard time not going into action because of the potential suffering and the need for compassion. And I am alarmed at what's going on, and I don't support this war. And I just want more clarity from you. I feel like you just answered this question, but for me it's very hard to just do nothing while you watch people being slaughtered all over the world. And I just wish you could address again and maybe perhaps give more clarity to, is it pointless
No.
to try to make a difference?
All right. I was talking earlier about people telling their stories and everything in nature telling their stories. And oddly enough, what we have to do in the face of war and horror is to be profoundly human and to love each other, to get to a different level. We need to look at the story of Scheherazade. Carolyn Casey talked about this recently, and I just loved it. She said the story of Scheherazade very quickly is she was a virgin that the king was going to make love to, and then in the morning he was going to kill her, because his theory was once a woman has been made love to, she will like it so much that she will be completely faithless, weak, and just untrustable entirely, and just go out and have lovers. And so rather than losing this beautiful virginity, he would first take the virginity and then he would kill her so she could not betray him. There has been a great fear in this world for millennia. The fear is showing itself at this time in war. And the promise is that the war shall continue, and I don't doubt that they intend for it to continue. However, Scheherazade decided that she didn't particularly want to die, so she started telling the king a story. And he was so fascinated with the story that he decided, well, I won't kill her tonight, I'll just, maybe tomorrow night. But she kept telling him stories. And 1,001 stories and 3 children later, he decided to let her live. I think that all of us, men and women alike, have an energy within us which is, metaphysically speaking, feminine. The energy of intimacy, trust, safety, making a safe place for each other. These are the things that no one can take away. Dietrich Bonhoeffer in World War II was a Lutheran minister who was imprisoned for a long time in Germany for his belief system and because he was religious. He and, I think about 30 other people were all in solitary confinement and they could only know that each other were there by tapping and code in between their rooms and stuff. Every day, he would offer them words of faith and encouragement. He would have services. And he gave them, even in the dank stone cold of their hard prison cells, another way to be. It's finding a way to be that is important, not what to do. We all have our outer gifts, and we all want to do it, and we want to do it now. And I have a website, www.llresearch.org, and I hope to create many different projects in this next 10 years that will attract attention and that will sway people's hearts and create a 100th monkey effect. I don't know if it'll happen or not, but it doesn't matter because metaphysically speaking, it isn't what happens. It's what your intentions were. Thoughts are things. Those are the powerful things. I hope that helps. It's an open-ended answer because I'm still working on it myself. Yeah.
I read your first Raw book many years ago and was very impressed, but perhaps a lot of people here aren't familiar with those books, and I wonder if you could explain again who the Raw were. You said once they lived on this planet. Yes?
In general, the Confederation of Planets entities say that they are those from this solar system and nearby solar systems, cosmically speaking, who have heard the cry of Earth, the sorrow of Earth, and the need of Earth, and have come as sort of Peace Corps types to help us out. Those of Ra said that they were from the influence of the planet known as Venus. Personally, I don't know if that's true or not. I've never cared. I don't know if the whole thing is something I made up out of my left cheek, you know, but I mean, it doesn't really matter because the voice is a substantial one. But what they say is that they have come here and parked themselves as creatures of thought in the inner planes of this density at this time because they want to make reparations for things that they tried to do in the past. And what they tried to do in the past, according to them, was they tried to come among us at the time of Atlantis and at the time of Egypt and talk about the Law of One. That's the Edgar Cayce connection, where Edgar Cayce said, no, the Law of One was back there in Egypt. I believe that that's the same thing. And they did come and they did talk to a certain group of people there, and they offered fairly pure teachings, which were quickly subverted by the priestly class who decided that only royalty and priests should take use of these pyramid energies and stuff. So they felt very bad because they tried so hard to offer the Law of One. It had become distorted, and they wanted to reduce the distortions. So that's the basic idea. The Confederation entities all have is they are here, they want to help, but they have discovered they cannot help without infringing on our free wills by coming among us. What they have to do is talk through instruments like me and not bother anybody's free will and be kind of throwaway chatter that you can either listen to or not. Yeah?
Carla, I want to thank you for reminding me of what I consider my first duty. And by way of telling you what I remember, I just want to share something with people here. Back in 1970, I won't go into the whole story, something happened to me which is right at the core of what you're saying. What happened to me was, it felt like this. It's as if an angel came into the room with a pitcher of light and poured it right through the top of my skull. And my mind opened up and I saw a light extending everywhere. And then that honey dropped down into my heart, and my heart opened up. Mm-hmm. And I saw the light in my heart, and it extended everywhere. And I felt one thing, and that was love. And I saw one thing, and that was unity. Mm-hmm. And it was everywhere, and everything was sustained in that light and in that love, and I had found myself. Mm-hmm. And
all is in perfect order.
Everything was in perfect order.
Yeah.
And I think that the way that I've gone through a lot of suffering after that. I thought at that time that I would never suffer again, and I was, of course, really wrong.
Yeah, immediately, I'm sure.
And I also fell asleep again, which is really astonishing. You think that once you awaken like that, you can't fall asleep, and I discovered that you can fall deeply asleep, and I did
Yes.
for many years. And then things gradually come along in your life to remind you of that insight that you had. And I was a political activist, but I want to say that I'm very much in accord with what you say about our first responsibility. Our first responsibility is for us to wake up, and for us to open up.
Yeah.
Because everything flows from that. First off, we're going to be living in a time of great fear and great repression. And what that's going to call upon, what we're going to need, is precisely that insight into ourselves. Because when you're in that space, you're fearless.
Mm-hmm.
There is no fear. You feel love, you feel joy, you see the unity of the creation, and you know who you are.
Mm-hmm.
And regardless of what's happening around you at that time, when you're in that state, you know you have the strength to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And you have the insight to deal with it wisely. So that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi. You sort of mentioned the tragedies of September a couple of times. I was watching the Oprah Winfrey show, and they had a lot of people on there who were saying that since that event, or those events, they've reassessed their lives and changed their values and their priorities, for the better.
Yeah.
I mean, do you tend to think that however sort of negative those events were, that in the end it's got to produce an equal amount of positive?
I do. I had a real... the only time the Holy Spirit's ever spoken to me in words in my life was recently, and it was when I was praying about 911, because I was quite cast down. I talk about not being cast down, but it's hard not to be cast down when you see something like that. And I was so sad to see us descending into war, and I could see the inevitability of the reaction and so forth, and I had no idea how to counter it, and I was praying and praying and praying. And finally, I got a phrase, and it said, "Ye are a nation of priests." And that has really riveted my attention. And I think what it means is that we need to realize at this time that we are people of power, that we have the magic, that we are not in the congregation anymore, that all of us have been invested with ministry, and we need to minister to each other. And we need to bring each other home. We need to remember. And we need to act as ministers. And we need to look at the actions and make sure that that which we are doing is what we would do if we were priests and not just folks. Because we actually are holy people, sacred folks. And everything is sacred. And I think once you shift over to that attitude, then whatever you do, washing out the diapers, well, nobody does that anymore. They throw them away. Washing up the baby, running the garbage disposal with Clorox, whatever it is that you're doing is a holy thing. And it can be done beautifully, beautifully, and with love.
Thanks.
Thank you. And I just wanted to maybe get your comments on what I would say to this young woman who asked about what do you do when you're faced with large social ills or injustice. And I think like a lot of people maybe in this room, I felt like I had to say something, or I had to you get into the same sort of energy as that which you are trying to act against. And a friend of mine and I talked of when people would say something like, oh, we gotta kill all the Muslims, or we have to nuke Afghanistan, instead of confronting them saying, that's very interesting. Where did you come by that idea? And it's very disarming, actually, for them. And to say something like that, and they can't tell you where that came from, but it makes them start to think in a non-confrontational way
Yeah.
of saying, always, oh, that's very interesting. I'd like to know how you came to that.
Yeah, yeah. We need to
So-
see the soul level in people and not react from belief system to belief system, but from person to person. Yeah. Try to validate people. Just try really hard to validate them. Okay.
It's easy to minister to people that are good and have good hearts, but you've said, and we all know, you take a path of either good or evil. And for the people that do take the path of evil, I have a real hard time reconciling how to deal with them, because I do. I mean, the man who kidnapped that young girl and murdered her, Danielle Van Dam, I have nothing but hate towards that person, and it's really bothered me.
Well, I think that what you have to do is go beyond the perfectly logical, righteous indignation and the pain that you feel because of what he has done, and realize that he is the wolf that is biting at your heart. He is the shadow of yourself that you don't want to look at right now. He is the distorted image in the mirror that you'd rather not have as part of yourself, and yet he is a part of you. You are a murderer. I am a murderer. When I was 8 years old, my 5-year-old brother was in the front yard, and the neighborhood bully walked by with a 2x4 in his hand and hit him as hard as he could, and my brother fell unconscious to the lawn. I flew out of that house on a broom, determined to kill that bully, and I left scratches down his cheeks, and even though I was 3'6" and he was 6'3", he was terrified of me from that moment on, and he never came around again. I've been there. I know what it's like to want to kill. I would have killed him if I could. And I'm a good person. I'm not saying that this guy had any reason for what he did other than spite, malice, wickedness, whatever. I'm just saying that there is a soul in that man beyond all of the acting out. And that's the connection to make. And that is the place that you can stand safely, because he also is a sacred being. And you can pray about that. You can enter the silence and say, Lord, teach me how to help this man, because I would love to change this truth, that's in him, but please help enter into this and help him to, come to him in his hell. Be there with him also. The secret to it is truly in not resisting it, but in learning from it, calling it brother and sister. Doing the hard work of seeing that when Jesus was on the cross, for instance, there were a couple of thieves and murderers on the cross next to him, and one of them had the wit to say, Lord, will you take me with you on this good trip, And Jesus said, oh, hey, tomorrow you'll be with me in paradise. Well, I think he actually said today. That's it. You see, beyond the wickedness of that gentleman lies a soul, and the soul is intact. There's hope for this guy. Increase the hope, and don't focus on that wickedness which is in the world. It's a shadow. It's a part of yourself. But in yourself, you can give it the charm and the stories to bring it around to working for you. But I think it is the worst thing in the world to see evil. It's very painful, and it's very bright, and it's difficult to see when you see it. And I have seen that also, written poems about it. And yet at the same time, this too is the Creator. I wish I had a better answer. Thank you all.